70. The Committee of 70 was established nearly 120 years ago, focusing on good government and ensuring that government was Committee of 70. I'm going to do a couple of housekeeping things. We're going to have some very important folks come up to speak, and then I will turn it over to our moderator so that we can begin our forum. We will not take questions from the audience. All of our questions have been pre-generated by our staff as well as some of our trusted consultants. So first I want to bring up Aileen, who is the Chief Executive Officer here at the National Liberty Museum, this wonderful museum, who lent us their space. So, Aileen.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Arnott. I'm the President and CEO here at the National Liberty Museum, and I want to welcome you tonight to tonight's program. At the National Liberty Museum, we bring people together to explore the meaning and practice of liberty here in Old City, which is the birthplace, as we all know, of American democracy. We believe that liberty is the keystone of democracy and a foundational concept of our country. But we also acknowledge that liberty is complicated and nuanced, that it sometimes is in tension with other ideals like equality and security. But rather than treat liberty as a static and historical concept, what we consider is it as a collaborative, evolving, thought-provoking effort, which requires the engagement of all of us here. Here at the museum, what we want is to incite thoughtful questions, facilitate healthy conversations about complex issues, and bring people together across the divides to collaborate on solutions. Speaking of, we are about to have some of those healthy conversations as we hear from the candidates about their proposed solutions for our great city. This is why we are thrilled to be the venue tonight for the Mayoral Forum hosted by the Committee of 70. We are also inspired by the work of Committee of 70, and we are so grateful for all they do to engage the citizens of Philadelphia. So with that, I'm going to introduce and hand this over to Eric Krittler. We've been practicing together, so I'm gonna, my name always gets mispronounced, so Eric, I've been working for you. A board chair of Committee of 70. Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome on behalf of the Committee of 70. I've been a board member of the Committee of 70 for 20 years, which is a significant fraction of our 120. We have a superb and very expert staff, and we also have an energetic and diverse board of almost 70 people who lean in every day to make democracy better in Philadelphia and government more transparent and effective. Our core values are integrity first, effective government, and citizen engagement, a participatory democracy. And I have to thank all of the candidates on the stage. You all have done more debates and forums than any group of candidates in the history of politics, I think. And I think it's benefited all of us. And the other thing that I'm very proud of and very focused on is the foundations and the groups that have sponsored all of these forums and debates, because it shows that our civic fabric is strong. And we're just happy to be a part of that civic fabric, and so we welcome you and thank you.
Thank you. And now to introduce our moderators. Our first moderator is the Committee of 70's own interim president and chief operating officer, Lauren. Lauren's work has centered around civic engagement. She is a career policymaker, as well as focusing on ensuring that everyone is educated across the city of Philadelphia. Monique is the principal of Civic Capital, an international social impact firm. Monique works with nonprofits philanthropic organizations, government agencies, and community organizations to develop innovative strategies that facilitate, educate, and inform organizations on how to meet their mission and the needs of the communities that they serve. As a part of Civic Capital's content division, Generosity, a hyperlocal social impact media outlet dedicated to building better communities through community-driven impact, provides a critical look at the impact of nonprofits, foundations, and government funding programs on communities and uplifts the community's voices in hopes of educating and changing those that serve them. Candidates, I ask that you turn your attention to our moderators and we will begin. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for being here. Thank you to our audience and our online audience. We're also live streaming in both Mandarin and Spanish to reach a wider audience across the city. And we welcome all of our guests. Let's just jump right into it here. Committee of 70 believes that government is most effective when it functions as an effective, efficient, modern, and responsible public resource. This requires identifying and implementing best practices and reforms that improve government operations and that leverage data to drive results and ensure transparency. Our next few questions will focus on effective governance in Philadelphia.
And with that, our first question will be directed towards Ms. Reinhardt, Ms. Parker, Ms. Kim, Mr. Dom, Mr. Brown, Mr. O, and Mr. De Leon. We're going to focus first on executive hiring. Among the most critical steps a mayor takes at the beginning of their term is to appoint the top-ranking officials in their administration. This is their chief of staff, their managing director, but also the numerous leaders that oversee major departments from police to streets to planning and development. Our question, how do you plan to go about the recruitment, vetting, and selection process for these government executives? Ms. Reinhardt, we'll start with you.
Good evening. It's wonderful to be here this evening with the Committee of 70 and with everyone that's come out, so thank you. As mayor, I would start right after the election to put together a transition team. And then I would get ready to do a wide-ranging recruitment effort and do a robust interviewing process involving interview panels with diverse interviewers, and to make sure that we have diverse candidates we are interviewing. Overall, my goal is to get the most talented, best people to lead the divisions and roles of our city with a goal of getting the most diverse race, ethnicity, gender, income level, background, neighborhood of our city that we can possibly get so that we best represent our city as a whole. That's the way that I would go about it and would lead to the best outcome for the residents.
Thank you. Ms. Parker?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you all so very much for having us. I have been clear that we will be unapologetic about building a team that includes some of the best and the brightest public sector, private sector, philanthropic leaders, and nonprofit leaders in our region, along with nationally, to help us build a team for whom the status quo is not acceptable. We want people who understand that I am not, as the mayor of our city, interested in simply producing white papers and reports to affirm what we need to do, but instead I want a team engaged in rolling up their sleeves, putting together the best and the brightest to operationalize a vision. So we will have a national and international search to bring in the best and brightest, but I'm also unapologetic about ensuring that some of the best and the brightest who we have right here in our region who haven't had access to the opportunity to lead, that they are considered. And we will use an intergovernmental approach as well to help us make that happen.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. For more than 20 years, I've led big social movements across the city of Philadelphia, some of which have gone national as well, and I've had the opportunity to meet so many different people around the city of Philadelphia that have been deeply engaged in the creation of a vibrant democracy, in making transformation, in taking real challenging issues, some of the toughest problems that Philadelphia has ever faced, and has actually led to solutions. I am actually going to draw on that diversity, the engagement that I've had with communities all across the city. I think it's unlocked an extraordinary talent pool that often goes overlooked by those who are in traditional status quo politics or have been in bureaucracies most of their lives. I am looking for creativity, number one. I am looking for somebody who is focused on outcomes, on how people actually live, no matter what the intent may be of a policy. The emphasis is on the outcomes of how people actually live. And then third, I'm looking for people who are on the ground, who understand that part of doing this work is about the engagement of individuals and activating a civic democracy beyond City Hall. I'm very proud to have led national organizations that have tapped into big national issues that I was the co-chair of an organization that was in touch with many elected officials all over the country. So I have a broad network of people to reach out to. Very proud to be the only office that have had 3 Rhodes Scholars come work for me. So I'm very proud to attract talent as well.
Mr. Dunn.
Thank you for the question, and thank you for having me here tonight. All of us will put together a good transition team, in my opinion. And that transition team on my side will focus on what I want to try to accomplish as my term as mayor, which is number 1, over the next 10 years, create 100,000 good paying jobs, take 100,000 people out of poverty, and bring 100,000 new residents into the city. But the transition team would consist of the best, the brightest, the most diverse from every neighborhood in the city, and we'll look outside if we need to, but I would want to first focus on our opportunities for people in the city. And I will share with you that since I've announced my candidacy for mayor, I've had a ton of people reach out to me who are interested in helping the city, even for free, which is great about this city. We have so many people who love Philadelphia and want to help, and I think that could be a tremendous asset. All we have to do is engage them, and they'll be happy to help us. So I will look to those people and others to put that team together.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
My career, both in the private sector, nonprofit sector, and in my government appointments, I've built many leadership teams and hired lots of people, like 60,000 in my grocery business. And there's a couple principles I want to lay out. One is you have to know what we're doing first, because you can't hire if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish. And the first thing is to lay out a vision for the city and where I want not only the overall city to go, but for each function, because it really does change who you would hire. And the second, I'm used to working in a certain way. I like people to push back on me. I like an open environment. I like a nurturing environment where we support the team. I like people that have worked with unions, because this is a mostly unionized workforce. With that being said, first you build a transition team to help vet people. I would give a priority to local people and diversity. I would value that very greatly. I think a diverse team helps you have a better outcome. And you know, my goal is to take people out of poverty, to address our crime problem, and to clean the city up. We don't do the basic things very well here.
Thank you. Mr. O.
Thank you. So I think there are critical services that are not doing well in our city. So I think that the leadership has to be very particular about what each leader brings to the table, whether it is in public safety, public transportation, how we deal with the public education system. I'm just seeing, is the mic okay? Got a lot of echo here. All right. Okay, so whatever the topic is that are the most important priorities for this city, there has to be a particular leader for that. There are some, I think, overriding principles. One is we have to engage with technology. The technology has to be uniform throughout this city. The technology will improve customer service, accountability, transparency, and responsiveness. We have to have force multipliers so that a person can do more. I also think that it's important that everyone have a clear understanding of what they're doing and that they work with each other. So I have already started identifying the people that I would like to handle certain areas. I asked them to come up with innovative ideas around issues that we are challenged with here in the city, and to discuss it with their teams in the campaign and with the people that support them.
Thank you. Mr. DeLeon.
Well, first of all, thank you, Committee of 70, for having me here. The most important organization for good government that we have in Pennsylvania, and one of the best in the United States. So, as we talk about myself and my administration as mayor, let me explain to you that the transition team is the most important team that you can put together. And it's important for a lot of reasons. First of all, your transition team has to be composed of individuals that are knowledgeable about the parts of the government that they're going to go into and have conversation with. So, when we have these type of people, when I put them together, of course, I'm looking for diversity. I'm looking for diversity as it comes to racial. I'm looking diversity as it comes to sex. I'm looking for diversity totally across the board. But when these people go into each and every department within the government, they have to have knowledge of how that particular department runs. And what they're looking for when they go in there, they're looking for the climate that's taking place within that particular department. Were there a lot of sexual assault allegations going on there? Are they operating as to the rules and regulations for that particular department? Has that leader been there for long? Is that an effective leader? Does that leader know how to lead? Is there technology that's needed within that department? All these particular types of things are what a transition team has to be charged with when they go into a department of this particular large government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is about the public workforce. Workforce problems are pervasive across city government, and the city's ability to attract and retain personnel has been a longstanding issue aggravated by the pandemic. Acute shortages of personnel in the police department and prison system in particular have had grave consequences for our city. What is your plan to address the staffing crisis and to recruit and retain a qualified workforce reflective of the city? This question will be directed to Ms. Reinhardt, Ms. Parker, Ms. Gim, Mr. Dom, Mr. O, and Almond Brown is not here. Okay. We'll start with Ms. Reinhardt.
So recruiting a workforce at the city is one of the biggest challenges that the city will face in the years that we're looking at. The first thing that I would do would be to make a more robust, centralized HR function at the city. Right now, most of the time, the individual departments, and there are close to 50 departments, are responsible for their own recruiting, which often slows the process down. So as mayor, I would bolster that centralized HR function and also make sure that all departments are able to move through the civil service requirement and process in a way that is more expedient than right now. Often it takes over a year for someone that, for example, wants to be a firefighter or a police officer to get through the civil service system. At that point, they might have gotten another job already. It's a year later. So these are the types of things we need to fix. As city controller, I oversaw the workforce of the controller's office. And I expanded recruitment and diversified the incoming class of auditors by recruiting from HBCUs, recruiting from more diverse universities to get a more robust and diverse workforce. And that's what I would do across the city.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Parker.
Yes. Attracting and retaining the best and the brightest talent that Philadelphia can acquire has to be essential for the next leader of our city. Ensuring that that takes place has to be a priority. However, we can't just talk about attracting and retaining. We have to talk about training an existing future workforce that includes the young people who are residents of our city. So in the city of Philadelphia, I want the school district of Philadelphia and community college of Philadelphia to be major partners in helping to train for every industry that's thriving, like life sciences and biotech, and every offering available here in the city of Philadelphia. In addition to that, we have to be unapologetic about not mimicking some bad behavior that we did see take place in the private sector. That is, posting messages about valuing diversity, equity, and inclusion on websites in the midst of the pandemic, along with the civil unrest, only for those sentiments to just waddle away as if they didn't matter. If that matters, we have to pay equitably. Grandmom used to say, you get what you pay for. If we value these workers, we will work extremely hard to pay them equitably and not just sit wearing t-shirts saying you're essential.
Thank you. Ms. Gim?
Yes, thank you. I think that the municipal staffing shortage should have us getting to work urgently on well-known problems within our civil service workforce that have long held us back. And I think you've heard conversations about the importance of raising wages, about the importance of valuing, offering pipelines for opportunity. This can't just be about the worst things that are happening. We also have to make sure that I have a community college that should be put to work, that there should be opportunities for people who come into jobs to be able to also have a community college opportunity where they can train for other things if they don't want the current job that they have, to gain new degrees, to have new talents, and to continue to invest in the potential of our workforce. But I'm also very clear that we have to fix some problems. It's why I introduced a bill to reverse Councilmember Parker's pre-requirement on residency that required people to be residents for 1 year before we could even hire. It slowed down the hiring within our police department and in our municipal workforce. I wanted to make sure that we take a look seriously at bottleneck issues. We want to make sure that we take a look at especially any gaps that we've got around slowing down the hiring that takes months at a time. This is our opportunity to actually lean in, fix the problems that we know can get our city moving, but also invest in something as we work forward, to make sure that we invest in our workforce.
Ms. Parker, 15 seconds to respond.
Now, Helen, I wouldn't expect you to major in the minors. It's a red herring. I'm unapologetic about wanting Philadelphians to be our employees, but the mayor can issue a waiver. And for any department that we need to hire where we can't find employment, we can issue a waiver and there won't be a residency requirement.
Thank you. Mr. Dom?
This is a problem across the country, not just in Philadelphia. And I actually think it stems to, these questions are about leadership. That's what these questions are really about. And I will say this, when you have inflation like we've seen from 2020 to 2022, where the private sector is increasing wages and salaries 5, 10, 15%, where people are jumping jobs for big salaries, government suffers in inflationary times. In recessionary times, government does well. It's a stable job, you got great benefits. We have to recognize that some of these negotiations that we've done, whether it's for police officers or any other workforce in our government, the salary increases are just really small based on what was negotiated prior, and they probably need to be adjusted. But the other thing we need to look at, it's very important, is retention. You know, I've had a different experience in life, so I come from a different vision. I know that the retention of an employee is invaluable. Training a new person is so costly. We need to look at like the police department right now. We're losing 25 to 30 people a month, police officers. We have to figure out how to retain them. It is important to hire new ones, but we need to figure out how to retain the existing ones. So this is an overall policy, and I think it's all about leadership to get this done.
Thank you. Mr. O?
Yeah, I think the problem is the way it is right now, a lot of city workers don't want to work for this city. They don't find it fulfilling. They don't see a future in it. They're very frustrated. Not all workers, but many workers, and we see it because they're leaving for other jobs. So I think the first thing is we have to really kind of look at what our core services are, and we have to make the decision that we are here to serve. And so the workforce has to serve the public. We want people who are taking these jobs because it's fulfilling. They want to make an impact. We also have to give them a predictable future. So we have to pay them appropriately and give them a predictable step increase, because the better they serve, the more experience they have, the higher they should get paid. I think it is important to take politics out of the City of Philadelphia's hiring process and retention process. Even when it's civil service, there's a lot of politics involved. And if it's not directly involved, it's indirectly. For example, when you talk about the police and the prisons, they are impacted by the politics that surrounds them. For example, in the prison system, we don't have capacity. So if there are 100 beds that we need, we're only providing 70, and yet there's 100 people. So they're being crammed in because politically, nobody wants to say, I'm going to build a new prison or I'm going to increase capacity. But the capacity is necessary. Otherwise, you'll have the problems that exist, such as the harm that's being done in the prisons, the overcrowding, and other things.
We are going to move forward with performance and accountability. 2 decades ago, the city stat model revolutionized the way many local governments use data to set goals, track progress, and make decisions, from gun violence and healthcare access to trash pickup to moving people out of poverty. How will your administration use data-driven performance management to ensure effective, efficient, and equitable delivery of city services? We will start with Ms. Reinhardt.
So tracking performance measures and measuring performance as it relates to outcomes is incredibly important to making sure government works for people. As controller, outcomes and transparency were a big part of what I did. And as mayor, I would value it and put a lot of strength and rigor around performance management as a city tool. The City of Boston grades each service that the city provides and actually rolls it into a letter grade on a regular basis that the public gets to see. That's the type of thing we need to do here in Philadelphia. And when I'm mayor, I will do this, because we need to be able to say to the people of our city how service delivery is at this time and what we expect from it. Across our city, we've seen service delivery decline, whether that's on-time trash pickup, whether that's the cleanliness of our street, public safety issues, homelessness, and we need to figure out how to solve these issues, and we need to measure it in a way that we can communicate and then work towards those goals, and I'll be accountable as the mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Me?
Yes.
You know, a great deal of experience with this, and certainly in our business and other things I've done. And you have to set goals publicly, commit to your customers, be transparent about it, and then those goals have to cascade down to your management team and your workers. And a good place to start is comparing our services to other large cities. And I think if you look at the Pew report, we're doing a bad job. We're ranked among one of the lowest performing big cities in the country. And I think when you see that, you want to go look at the better performing cities. You should bring the unions with you. You should bring council people with you. Let us all take a look at what high performing departments look like, work like, what they do differently. And let's put a plan together to move from where we are to where we want to be and make it part of everyone's goals and transparently report on progress.
Thank you. Ms. Parker.
Yes, we should empower the tool of transparency in government, but for every program functioning in the city of Philadelphia, no program should be functioning without a third-party independent verifying party evaluating the program. I don't want you to simply listen to what I'm saying today. I want you to check out what I've done. I'm the founder and creator of a program called PHLTCB. And when we developed the budget, we developed funding so that there would be a third-party independent evaluator. In this case, eConsult was chosen to provide some analysis about the effectiveness of the program. But we are also going to hear the voices of the people in our neighborhoods through a mayor's community council that we will use in every council district. There will be 10. They will have the ability to tell us whether or not the solutions we've proffered for programs that we are having in their communities to support them, whether or not they're working. So data-driven and research-based analysis and programming is extremely important, but we have to have room for not just quantitative analysis, but the qualitative, real-life experience of Philadelphians. So we are not simply articulating problems and proffering solutions for people, but they are a part of determining what happens in their communities.
Thank you. Ms. Kim.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that one of the issues with Philadelphia is that all these ideas end up struggling to ever get to really fruition because they struggle with the need in Philadelphia to actually transform culture and to focus on broad-based outcomes that actually make a difference in people's lives. I've helped lead massive transformations in behaviors within city government. For example, creating one of the most successful eviction prevention programs in the country that helped make sure that we modernize technology to get almost $250 million in rental assistance out to tens of thousands of landlords and tenants to keep people housed. We changed processes in municipal courts. We made sure that we had liaisons with landlord associations so that we had a chance to keep things moving, to fix problems, and that we met continuously bi-weekly. That's how we were able to take the 4th highest evicting city in the country and slash it by more than 2/3, and that our program is now copied in 180 cities across 36 states. Because I understand that you don't just deliver a set of responsibilities, you actually have to change the culture of how people behave. That's why it's important for us to, yes, absolutely use data-driven theories. I have made sure that we will follow best practices, but the most important thing that we can do is to make sure that we are outcomes focused, that people have a chance to evaluate both their progress and their behaviors by multiple different ways, both with communities, with external evaluators, and by a constant process of dialogue and engagement.
We are going to move on to our next question, access to services. The COVID pandemic highlighted the glaring gap in access in government services that many residents and families urgently needed. How will your administration ensure that residents who most need city services and public benefit programs, from tax credits to healthcare to job training, get access to those services in the first place? And how will you bring the government to the people? We will start with Mr. Brown.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things we need to do is a process improvement effort. And I would want to have a senior cabinet level person for process improvement and technology, because we should make it simpler to have the outcome we want. And we need to find new tools to reach out to the most underserved people in the city. Things like, for example, people get evicted from their house because their real estate tax increases, but a lot of them don't even apply for the homestead rebate or the long-term residence program. I think a lot of these programs could, the city should automatically place you in the correct program for you, which means we need the data on our residents, so we don't have to make things so difficult on people. We automatically give them what they need. I think we have to use telephone marketing to get to the most disenfranchised people and help them get the benefits that they're entitled to, because if they don't get them, it's worse for us as a city. Many of them are paid for federally, and so it helps us when they get those benefits. So our current system to engage with our system is citizens grossly inadequate, should be available in person, online, by telephone. We should answer the calls when they ring, and we don't do a very good job of that right now.
Thank you. Mr. O.
A lack of transparency creates a lack of accountability. How is it that services are not being provided? It's because people don't know what's happening. And I think COVID was a great example of that, because what actually happened during the COVID pandemic was people didn't know how the money was spent, where it was spent. And we could not find out because we could not have a hearing on it. And it was an emergency order that the mayor issued under the health commissioner, which is in violation of the charter. The charter only gives the mayor up to 4 weeks of emergency powers, but the mayor interpreted that as the health commissioner having unlimited power during this period of the pandemic, which means under emergency powers, the city council cannot engage in the normal course of checks and balances. Whatever happened to the money, I don't know, and we didn't have a hearing, so I can't find out. If we can't find out, we can't understand why, for example, entire communities, particularly African American, were not slated to receive the vaccine. And how come the doctors who applied, African American doctors, were not included? How did we end up with Philly Fighting COVID, which was an entity run by someone from Drexel University with no background or ability, who ended up on the advisory commission with the health commissioner? All of these type of things are because it's opaque. So if we open it up, put the light on it, it will hold people accountable. And when they're not accountable, or when they're not doing things, the public can tell that themselves.
Mr. Dom.
Thank you for the question. I just want to mention something from the prior question. I published on my website, if anyone's interested, votedom.com, an ethics plan for government. Comprehensive, inclusive, it's diverse, it has accountability, it's transparent. I've also put on my website every questionnaire that every organization has asked us to fill out, so people can see exactly how I'm answering every question. But to your issue, here's what we need to do. And whether it's hopefully me as your mayor or anyone else on this dais here, okay? We leave $450 million of federal and state money on the table every year. $450 million. Organizations like United Way could help us, Campaign for Working Families, and Benefits Data Trust, which does a phenomenal job. For every dollar we invest in Benefits Data Trust, they return $10 to $12 of federal and state money. $450 million. $100 million as earned income tax credit could go to 35,000 families who qualify, don't even know about it. It's $100 million. We leave medical assistance, that's almost $230 million for lower income people for prescriptions and for senior citizens. We leave SNAP, which is formerly food stamps, $100 million. This is like serious money. All this money came out of all of our paychecks called federal withholding tax and state taxes. When we don't get the $450 million of federal and state money into this city, it is a transfer of wealth out of the city, but more importantly, our residents need this money. We need to do this and invest in these companies.
Thank you. Mr. De Leon.
Thank you for that question. So my administration will be operating under what's known as the Local Incident Management System, which is a unified set of processes and procedures that the government would use to combat the problems that we have in the city by enabling the necessary responders to work more effectively and efficiently to manage the root causes of these problems. Now, under this particular system, all my department heads, as well as my deputies, would be trained as incident specialists under the Federal Emergency Management Act. Now, once I have these people trained, what we're going to do is go out within each department. They're going to come up with a plan that under this Federal Emergency Management Act, local incident management system, in which the citizens of Philadelphia will get the best care on a timely fashion of what is needed for them. Now, some specifics that could come out of this is that my administration could contract community legal services so that people within the neighborhoods would be able to go there to get certain things that they need rather than come downtown. Also, for things like the homestead exemption, I would have people go door to door to people that we know should be able to get homestead exemptions, but for whatever reason did not put in for that. And we will fill out the paperwork for them and make sure that they've had it. So these are particular things that can come about through the local incident management system.
Thank you. Well, it wouldn't be a Committee of 70 forum if we didn't talk councilmanic prerogative. Arguably, the most profound problem with councilmanic prerogative is that it can undercut sound urban planning intended to shape the city's growth in ways that are equitable and sustainable. How would your administration prioritize and bolster the city's planners and Philadelphia 2035 plan? And what will you do when the opinions of your experts in your administration conflict with the exercise of prerogative? Let's start with Ms. Parker.
Thank you. As a former district council person, I know how important it is to give the people in neighborhoods who are impacted by any potential development in their region a voice and a seat at the table when those decisions are being made, because change shouldn't happen to a people or to a community, it should happen with them. With that being said, I have never been afraid or shied away from making a tough decision, even when it related to land use. But I will use my organizational structure and that mayor's community council to ensure that our planners have access to more than just our neighborhood-based RCOs. That's the purpose of a mayor's community council, so that residents, block captains, committee people, business owners, faith-based leaders, educators, anyone who's a stakeholder in that community, they have a voice and a say in what's happening there. In addition to that, I will never have a Philadelphian be able to say, Mayor Parker, the only time we see you or interact with your administration is when you're asking for our vote. This is how we will take an administration to a people to meet monthly. How do I know the process works? I'm a founder of the Mount Airy Community Council. We have multiple committees, and it is the chief organizer for governmental activity in our community.
Thank you. Ms. Reinhardt?
As mayor, I will lead a strong citywide planning effort, which means bolstering the city planning department. It means having a focus on historic preservation, on keeping communities together, having a city-wide planning process. Of course, I will work with the district council people on that, but we've gotten away from having a strong city-wide plan. And that's what I'll do as mayor. And that's the way we need to lead. Because right now we have a lot of different zoning issues going on in different districts. We need to have a more holistic approach to this. Of course, community by community has different needs, of course, but we also need to look at the city overall, and that's the way that I'll lead as mayor, bolstering the planning department and making sure that we're making good decisions for the future generations.
Thank you. Ms. Gim?
Yes, I think for too long, Philadelphia's land use policies have been ad hoc, piecemeal, and have been chaotic. It's honestly dragged down our city. It's made it slower and slower to do development. It's also greased the wheels for a handful of connected insiders who are able to move their way through the cozy insider politics that have allowed these things to go on for so long. I'm very clear that what Philadelphia needs is a strong hand on a visionary approach towards how to do land use and management with a priority on affordability, on equity, on community engagement, and on a real vision for how we're going to harness a stable, predictable, responsible approach towards development across our city. That is one of the most difficult things when developers are talking about how do we stabilize finances, how do we get a lot of interests involved, how do we make sure that we're handling the inventory of 8,500 vacant lots that are currently under city control when we have one of the biggest homelessness crises or affordable housing crises in this city. It is unconscionable that we have not had a real citywide planning effort, but I think that what we are going to see from a Helen Gim administration is someone who knows how to work that through on the citywide level, engaging multiple partners and stakeholders. And within that, I think City Council and many other entities are going to find a place to see how this can actually work in the best interest of the public.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Dom.
Thank you for that question. Look, I think there's a middle ground on councilmanic prerogative, and I think we have to find that middle ground. I think it includes more land planning for the city. We can't have block by block legislation. That doesn't work. But there's another experience that I had that I wanted to share with you, and that is that when I passed the outdoor dining bill back in April of 2020, when the pandemic hit, everyone was doing well. Not everyone, but most were doing well except hospitality. Called together a Zoom of 125 restaurants and hotels, asked them what they needed. Many of my colleagues on council were in that Zoom and supportive, and they said we need outdoor dining. So we passed the outdoor dining bill. Then it was re-upped maybe a year or two later, and I also had that outdoor dining bill. And what happened in the committee that I wasn't on, it got basically chopped up. That if you lived outside of a certain section, you had to go to the district council person for approval to have your outdoor dining. And what I felt was unfair is that for restaurateurs or hotels or gyms or whatever, Why should there be one set of rules in this section of the city and another different rules in this section of the city? So that's the type of stuff that we need to fix. I don't think that's fair.
Thank you. Next question is about the Home Rule Charter. City Council has initiated an explosion of amendments to the Home Rule Charter, our city's constitution, over the past 20 years or so. As mayor, how would you work to limit proposed changes only to those matters that are fundamental to the structure of local government? Would you support a comprehensive review and modernization of the charter as opposed to the piecemeal changes of recent years? Let's start with Mr. Brown.
Yeah, it's very concerning because I think what had worked is a strong mayor form of government. And as there's been a vacuum of leadership, we're moving away from it to a hybrid system that is going to be very difficult to hold anyone accountable. And yes, I think we've passed a lot of things that are suspect over the years. And the whole Home Rule Charter, I think, needs a fresh look. And I think we have to move back to a strong mayoral form of government. And we have to make certain limitations on some of the things that have been done, because I don't think it's serving us right. Perfect example is for the council to hire someone in charge of safety. When the mayor's running the city, but another body's going to hire a key management person, it doesn't work well that way. If you ever led anything, it just doesn't work that way. So I think we are sort of in a crisis in this, and it requires a relook at the whole thing.
All right, thank you. Mr. O.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to review everything, but I think fundamentally we have a distinction between the functions in our city government. We have 3 branches, obviously, but we have a strong mayor. We have a very strong executive, and then we have a legislative branch. That legislative branch operates within its realm. And I think the powers of the mayor include respecting what the legislative branch does and using the powers to try to ensure that the reasons why legislators are introducing amendments and bills and charter changes that are not, in the mayor's opinion, necessary and maybe contrary to what the public wants, is something the mayor can address. And I think the mayor has a lot of ways to communicate to the public, because most of them are going to be charter changes. Others are going to create positions that the mayor doesn't have to fill. So you can create a position in the legislature, but the mayor doesn't have to respect it. And that is the push and pull between the executive branch and the legislative branch. But I think it is important for the mayor not to override, I don't mean override, but to run roughshod over a branch of government that is part of our checks and balances of democracy.
Thank you. Mr. DeLeon?
Well, Jeff, I think that we must have a strong mayor system, because every former city council person that I asked, why didn't you do anything for gun violence? They all point at the mayor and say it's him. So the situation is, in order to do what we're talking about as far as this question, is that we have to follow the 3 C's: communication, cooperation, coordination. We have to sit down as a group, as a body. The mayor has to meet with the city council people. When they want to come up with a charter change, we all have to sit down and make a determination as to why is this change needed? Is the change really needed? Is there a way that we can accomplish what you want without changing the charter? When we do all of these particular things in unison, one to the other, as a strong mayor, a mayor has to lead with his people, but that also means he has to listen to his people. So I would like to look upon myself as a formulative mayor, one that will ask my people, ask the people that I have to work with, ask the legislative branch, ask the judicial branch. Let's think out of the box as to what we need to do in order to accomplish what is needed for the citizens of Philadelphia in a timely and good way.
Thank you. Ms. Reinhardt?
So the Home Rule Charter was passed in the 1950s. Many of the parts of the Home Rule Charter are truly outdated. So some of the charter changes introduced to the voters over the past few years have been about moving the power from a strong mayor form of government to having city council have more power. But many of the charter changes have to do with modernizations. And this is why I think it's a good idea to look at this holistically and to look at the charter overall for those modernizations that are necessary. For example, when I was the chief administrative officer of the city, I oversaw the back office departments and functions, about 1,000 employees at the city, one of which was procurement. And I saw in the home rule charter all of the things that were so outdated. It was before we had computers. It was before we had the technology we have. So we need to modernize. I led the change to best value procurement to modernize our procurement practices, but we need to do this across the executive functions in every department. So I would absolutely support a convention to update our home rule charter.
Thank you. Our next question is about your leadership style. Getting big things done for city residents will require working with other elected officials, as well as Philadelphia's civic and business leaders. What is one big thing you promise to tackle in your first term as mayor, and how will you go about working with other leaders in the city to get it done? Let's start with Ms. Gim.
I don't think there's any question that one of the most important areas is around public safety, and that we need a unified, coordinated approach towards how we're going to handle public safety here in the city of Philadelphia. I've made it very clear that while some people will look at, saying that they want to hire more officers when it could take a year, I will do the same too, but it could take a year between getting an officer class through, and it can only do it 20, 40, 50 people at a time when I've got 1,000 vacancies. I'm going to move a lot faster than that. I'm going to talk about promoting more detectives so that we can actually reduce caseloads and solve crimes, because the most lawless thing about Philadelphia is that too many people are getting away with crimes. I want to make sure that we improve 911 response times and get first responders out onto the streets. I helped pilot the first non-police mental health mobile crisis units in the city of Philadelphia, because so many 911 calls deal with housing, homelessness issues, addiction, mental health emergencies, certain types of domestic violence. It's important to get crisis responders out to them and allow police officers to focus in on the areas in which Philadelphians want them to handle crime. And I'm absolutely clear that we need help and support for young people who are directly in the path of violence. We are seeing so many problems happen with our youth. 4,000 kids dropped out of school last year. 3,600 kids have dropped out of school since September. I'm here to deliver a guaranteed youth jobs program targeting certain young people in the path of violence. Those are the ways in which we see investment and a real means to handling safety in our city.
Thank you. Ms. Parker?
The first thing I will do is to make the public health and safety of the city of Philadelphia my #1 priority. And I will immediately begin working on the implementation of my comprehensive neighborhood safety and community policing plan that does call for 300 officers very specifically engaged in community policing, walking our neighborhoods, riding bikes, getting to know the communities they're sworn to protect and serve, with zero tolerance for any misuse and or abuse of authority. But this is a perfect example of the difference between candidates here. When I introduced my proposal before I declared my mayoral candidacy and decided to get in this race, I came up with a solution on how we could onboard officers immediately. We could get able-bodied officers already working in administrative roles here in the city, walking our streets, and bring back retirees immediately until we were able to deal with our hiring crisis. I am not an expert articulator of problems. I am not a white paper a recorder and or a person who commissions audits. My job will be to lead this city and make the tough decisions necessary to bring order back to this city. And that message doesn't change depending on the audience. Black, white, no matter the race, class, socioeconomic status, will address public safety in the city. Thank you.
Ms. Reinhardt?
So the question was around bringing stakeholders together, working with partners, and how will I, as the next mayor, do that? So the one big issue that I want to talk about tonight is public safety, and how I will bring the criminal justice partners of our city together as the mayor. On day one, as mayor, I will call the district attorney and the police commissioner into my office to get on the same page to tackle illegal guns in our city. My work as city controller showed that the police have doubled the number of arrests for illegal carry over the last 5 years, while the conviction rate by the district attorney has gone down from 65% to 42%. The district attorney says it's because the police cases aren't good enough. Well, you know what? Let's all get in the same room. This is the job of the mayor. Let's get in the same room and figure this out so that we can get these guns off the street and make our streets safer. In addition to that, on day one, I will activate the city's Emergency Operations Center. This allows me as mayor to coordinate not just the police department response, but the streets department to fix lighting in high crime areas, library to have expanded library programming in the neighborhoods most impacted by violence, rec programming the same, behavioral health to do trauma treatment. This is the way we're going to solve things in our city.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Dom.
Thank you. There are a few examples, I think, of leadership I could share. One, I mentioned earlier the outdoor dining where we had 862 restaurants take advantage. And I put a clause in the legislation that the city had to approve it within 3 days. And to the city's credit, they did. I learned a valuable lesson. Put time frames in everything because the city did approve it. We saved over 15,000 jobs. But as far as bringing people together, we did that on the outdoor dining. I did that during the pandemic when I reached out to 16 area banks when the pandemic hit and asked them to provide forbearance agreements for homeowners and small businesses to allow them to wait 3 to 6 months to pay their debt, which 16 banks agreed to, brought them together. But the biggest one was public safety. In August of 21, I noticed that a few of my colleagues on council went to Chester, PA, on their own, which I applaud, to figure out how to see what Chester is doing, because Chester was doing a good job with public safety. I didn't see the police commissioner, I didn't see the DA, I didn't see the mayor. And this is our problem. This is about leadership. You cannot operate in silos. You need to bring people together, convene them, and bring them together. So I reached out to the police commissioner and said, I'd like to help you. But as I learned from Governor Rendell back in 2015, he said to me, you want to be successful in Philadelphia politics, do all the work and give out the credit. So I said to everyone, I want to have a meeting, bring everyone together, not at City Hall, because I didn't want people to be aware of this, but I like everybody together. And I brought everyone together, DA, police commissioner, Attorney General, U.S. Attorney, FBI, ATF. I will also have that cabinet in place day one, and I'll have weekly meetings to get the crime under control.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to a lightning round, quick yes or no's on 2 questions, and then we'll move to your final statements. So at C70, we believe that government should be representative of and responsive to the people. Free, fair, safe, and secure elections create a strong representative government. Achieving this means that all eligible voters can cast ballots in secure and well-run elections. Voters are well informed about the candidates and the issues. Political boundaries are drawn without manipulation to advantage one group over the other. And well-funded special interests are unable to overpower the public interest. So, yes or no? We'll go down the line. On the question of a chief democracy officer. The next administration will oversee Philadelphia's pivotal 2024 election. But focusing on our voters, Philadelphia's share of the overall vote in Pennsylvania has plummeted for 3 federal elections in a row. Would you be willing to appoint a chief democracy officer who will lead a nonpartisan, citywide voter registration and engagement initiative and coordinate the administration's role in elections operations within the city commissioners? We'll start with Mr. DeLeon and go down the line.
Yes.
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 Amazing, done, check.
It was easy. Okay. Next, we're going to go to electoral reform. Yes or no? In last week's first nonpartisan poll conducted by the Committee of 70, no candidate garnered support from even 20% of the voters, meaning that whoever wins this election will need to govern mostly people who did not vote for them. Would you support an electoral reform like ranked choice voting that allows voters to express more of their preferences for candidates? Mr. DeLeon.
I would say this, that's not really up to the city, it's the state controlled. So if the state can do it, I'd say yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Yes, I would.
No.
No.
Yes, but I'm not a fan of ranked choice voting. I prefer the runoff.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. So with that, we'll move to final statements. We'll give each candidate 2 minutes. And let's start with Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I think our city's in a historic crisis that I haven't seen in my lifetime. And we have a lot of reflecting to do on how we got here. And I just think we need a much more substantial change in this election. And it seems like there's a lot of groupthink. We're going along with things because we've always done them, and we're not, critically challenging some of the ways we do things, which I think we need to. And I think this is a time where we could use an outsider to question everything, start from the beginning, and say, are we really doing things the right way? And that's what's inspired me to run. I think I'd be the right outsider. I think we have a gigantic structural poverty problem. I'm very, very experienced at helping people out of poverty. If we do a good job at solving that problem, most of our other problems will fall in line, and that's where I'm coming from. I also think that I have a very comprehensive public safety plan. I've been endorsed by every police organization in the city, and I really do think it's very practical, realistic, and with their support, with the police's support, I think I can bring back safety in a very quick time frame. And I'm a manager that manages mundane things in the grocery business. And I think things like filling potholes and replacing lights and picking up the trash, we need some improvement in these things, process improvement. And I will be very focused on modernizing our processes and technology so we can expect what every other city in the world has. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O?
Yeah, the poll that was done was not all the candidates. It was just the Democratic candidates. And that's a problem with this city. We rushed to a decision on May 16th with 90-second answers and come up with who we think is the mayor. That's not a good process. And I'm in the race because this process will go to November 7th. And we'll have a more in-depth conversation about what needs to be done, how it's going to be done, and how we're going to get there, very pragmatically. There's a lot wrong with our city. There's a lot of good with our city. But the issue is who has challenged the structure of the status quo. The complacency, the corruption, that has to be torn down. And in order to do that, you have to be willing to challenge the stakeholders. And that is where the real problem is in this city, in the schools, in the public services, in the tax process, the assessment of taxes, in the way that people are appointed to very important positions where they don't have any real knowledge of what they're doing, and the opaqueness and unwillingness to make things public. All of that is very convenient in our city, and we've been doing it for a long time. So there definitely has to be a change. And people want to change. They want a dramatic change because they cannot understand how time and time again we are faced with the same problems despite the promises to change it.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gim?
Yes, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to join everybody. As I said earlier, a vibrant democracy relies on the creation of an engaged public that is active in transformation. I believe the next mayor must lead a transformation. While many candidates are running for an office, I'm trying to change the way people actually live in Philadelphia. And for 20 years, I've stood with community and people's movements that have long stood outside of the on the margins of politics, leading big transformative efforts to see change. And when I came into city council, I wanted to show that somebody who had been part of those movements could see transformative change, that we could actually end a narrative of disinvestment around our public schools, and that we could bring back nurses and counselors and safe drinking water, arts and music and social workers to every public school, and I want more than that. I want to make sure that we showed that we could deliver a real housing plan to keep people housed, new laws to expand labor rights. All of these things engaged a broader public who believed in a bigger Philadelphia that would include all of them and that would benefit them and not just those who are always first in line. So I'm here to deliver that big vision that's going to require an active and engaged democracy, a real vision to modernize our public school systems so they become the promise to every child and every family member, a real vision for economic opportunity that talks about not just promises of job referrals and things that never really come to fruition, but a guaranteed jobs program that reaches out to young adults right now who are in the path of violence, who have been long disinvested in, and are in neighborhoods that are most impacted. These are transformative things and a real vision for a clean, green, and vibrant Philadelphia where city services are delivered according to equity and for outcomes. That's how we're going to change it. That's how I've led it. I believe that many of the people have played it safe all their lives, and the ideas are just too small for this moment. I'm leading a big vision for an invested Philadelphia that calls us all home, treats us like we're family, and we leave nobody behind.
Thank you. Mr. DeLeon?
Well, I wish I'd been in that group that had answered the public safety question, because in this particular group of candidates, I'm the expert in public safety. And the reason why I say that is because, first of all, I believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I was a judge for 34 years, and I was also a military officer. So I took an oath in both positions to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and as a judge, added on to that the Constitution of the state of Pennsylvania. There was a time when homicides in this city were over 400 a year. And during that particular period of time, I was appointed the supervising judge of the Philadelphia Municipal Court. Now, in that position, I led the initiatives that reduced homicide in the city from that 400 down to 250 lives that were lost for 7 straight years. Now, we don't want to lose any lives. Every life is precious, not only to the person, but to us as a community. But I did lead the initiatives that saved over 1,000 lives. So, as a judge, I looked over cases that affected the lives of not only you, but those of your family, your friends, and the community. But to give you a little bit about myself within the time that I'm allotted, I was born here in West Philadelphia. I was born to a mother and a father, and my father was a combat veteran of both the Second World War and the Korean War, where he was injured both times, and he suffered from post-traumatic stress, and he left my mom, who raised both my brother, and I. At a later time, I graduated from West Catholic High School for boys, and then I ended up going to law school, and when I graduated in studying for the bar, I was married, and during that particular period of time, I lost my wife, so I became a single parent raising a 13-month-old daughter. I've since married twice, and I now have a beautiful family, but the situation is, I'm from you, and I want to make sure that you're safe, and that's what I'm going to do as mayor, make sure that you're safe.
Thank you. Mr. Dom?
Thank you, and thank you, Committee of 70, for having us here tonight. And hopefully I'll have an opportunity to partner with you when I'm mayor, but I really appreciate all the work that you guys do. So look, we have a public safety crisis. We have an education and a good paying jobs crisis. We have an affordable housing and poverty crisis. But the biggest crisis we have is a crisis of leadership. This is all about leadership. That's what this race is about. And this race is a turning point for the city of Philadelphia and for all of you. Crime is a symptom of a low paying job, being in poverty, and not having a roof over your head. Crime is that symptom. Education is the cure. It's all about education. And if we had done what I'm going to say 15 years ago, we'd have a different city today. I want to teach in our schools from K through 12 financial literacy and home ownership. I want to teach technology. And I want to teach entrepreneurship, how to own your own business. And then I want to allow students in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, give them a chance to go to school 4 days a week, something that I did on the 5th day, work in a job, get credit, get paid, get a summer job. In this environment, they'll say, hey, Alan, come in Tuesday afternoon through Friday, 3:30 to 6, we need you. And can you come in on Saturday from 9 to 5? We have a labor shortage. That's a great opportunity for our kids. Cristo Rey High School at 17th and Allegheny does exactly this program. Last year, they graduated 99% of their children, and 100% of those students were admitted to college. It works. So look, I come from a different experience. I've spent over 40 years in the private sector, almost 2 terms on council. I know how to bring people together. I don't have the ego. My goal is the outcome. All I care about is the city, and I care about the next 10, 20, and 30 years. That's my goal. I hope I can earn your support, and thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Reinhardt?
I am running for mayor because I believe that I am the right person to lead our city forward in this truly critical time. I've spent the last 15 years working for the residents of our city, close to a decade for 2 different mayors, and the last 5 as the independently elected city controller. I know the city's budget inside and out from being the city's budget director. I've managed 1,000 city employees and gotten things done as the chief administrative officer. And I know the city's operational challenges from my work as city controller. And as controller, I put forth thoughtful solutions to move our city forward. But that is where the power of my office ended. As mayor, I can and will make the change happen. I can hit the ground running on day one. Our next mayor needs to have the courage to take on the status quo, and I have that courage. In 2017, I ran against a long-term incumbent. I ran against the Democratic Party candidate, and I won with 58% of the vote. And I've led with the courage as the city controller, auditing the parking authority despite political pressure not to, auditing the police department, getting into public fights with Mayor Kenny, taking things on that matter to the people of our city, because the people of our city deserve a city government that truly works. As mayor, I will tackle gun violence and make our city safer. I will work every day to improve our schools. My daughter is in 7th grade in the public school system, and every child deserves a good school. And I will make sure that city services work, make sure the streets are clean and the services are all working, and that we're running a best-in-class city government based on data and best practices. That's the future that I will lead in our city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Parker.
Thank you so very much. Our beloved city of Philadelphia, unfortunately the poorest big city in the nation, is at a crossroads. Because my lived life experience is closest to the people feeling the most pain in our city, along with the breadth and the depth of my intergovernmental experience, and quite frankly, the sense of urgency that I bring to the table in getting things done, I am uniquely qualified to ensure that we make our city the safest, the cleanest, and the greenest big city in the nation that will provide access to economic opportunity for all. Yes, it is true that I have the audacity to believe that we can bring hope and pride back to our neighborhoods, but only if we have a mayor who is not afraid to make the tough decisions necessary to stop the sense of lawlessness and bring order back to our city so that we can focus on having a public school system open year long, open as early as 7:30 in the morning and closing no earlier than 6 p.m., where all of our children, regardless of their race, class, or zip code, have access to financial literacy and coding and are being trained to perform all of the duties associated with careers that are growing, that will put them on a path to self-sufficiency, so that they're building the 30,000 units of affordable housing, the new schools we're going to build under a Parker administration, putting our people on a path to self-sufficiency and getting them off of the poverty hamster wheel. I'm not a mayor who will commission an audit or write a report. I'm a mayor who will get things done. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give the candidates a round. Thank you. Thank you to the candidates. And, oh, I'm sorry, did we? Oh, Helen went. I'm sorry, somebody from here said you didn't go, you went. Thank you to each of the candidates. We look forward to partnering with your administration to make government in Philadelphia more accountable and transparent, and our democracy more representative. I'd like to thank the C70 team and Ashley Session for helping put this all together, my fantastic co-moderator, Monique Curry-Mims, and the National Liberty Museum for hosting us. Thank you to our board members who are in attendance. If you need any voting resources, help making your decisions, finding your polling place, filling out that mail-in ballot, 70.org. You will find all of the, every single questionnaire that's been asked to every candidate is available on our website, along with a ton of other resources. We'd be thrilled to have you check them out, 70.org. Thank you and have a good night.